Nikola Tesla was born on July 10, 1856, and during his childhood he went through several traumatic experiences that marked him. Perhaps one of the most shocking was the death of his older brother, Dane, in 1863, who died at the age of 12 after falling from a horse. Tesla witnessed the event and would later say that this image had been stored forever in his memory. This event deeply marked the life of Tesla, who was barely 5 years old when the accident occurred, since he also blamed himself for what happened. He would later describe his brother as having an advanced mind. Tesla's entire family was greatly affected by the death of the firstborn, and this was not his only near-death experience, as he himself nearly died just 10 years later, in 1973, when he contracted cholera, a disease that kept him in bed for 9 months while he was seriously ill. Tesla told his father that he might get better if he let him study engineering, contrary to his father's wishes that they do on a religious path. The father agreed and Tesla clung to that promise to get out of his illness. Today I am going to tell you very interesting aspects of the life of Nikola Tesla to decipher if he was religious, if he believed in God and in spirits, and if he was a peaceful man or not. Do not take off, because the life of this scientist and inventor was full of surprising details. Nikola Tesla was religious. Nikola Tesla was raised as an Orthodox Christian, as his father was a priest of the Eastern Orthodox Church and had in fact planned for Tesla to follow his path as a religious man. Despite this, the inventor had other concerns and would later say that he did not consider himself a believer in the Orthodox sense and that he was even opposed to religious fanaticism. About the idea of God, Tesla went so far as to say that what a man calls God, others he calls the laws of physics. But he also commented on another occasion the gift of mental power comes from God, a divine being, and if we focus our minds on that truth, we tune in to great power. My mother had taught me to look for all truth in the Bible. Therefore, I devoted the following months to the study of this work. Duke Mandeville, Tesla's mother, was the daughter of a priest of the Eastern Orthodox Church, just as Tesla's father had been. In fact, Tesla always attributed his creativity to his mother, who was an inventor of home appliances and machine tools. Among Tesla's close friends was Bishop Nikolai Velimirovich, who once visited the scientist in his laboratory in the United States, where he witnessed an invention of Tesla's that moved wheels and gears. Surprised, the bishop asked him with what kind of force he moved those wheels. To which his friend replied that it was electricity. At that moment, Bly scolded him. "Since you are a great expert in electricity, tell me if your science will reveal the way to see this current with the naked eye." Faced with the inventor's negative response, the bishop said, "So why do people ask to see God? Power exists even when you can't see it." Another great influence on Tesla was his mother's brother, also an Orthodox priest, a figure of whom Nicholas was very proud and who introduced him to Descartes' philosophy at a very young age, which, in Tesla's own words, was key to his inventive approach. But Tesla was not only close to Christian writings, he also mentions Hindu texts in his writings and Eastern religions. According to the author's interpretation, Oliver, his boutique, Tesla was interested in finding a universal religious pattern that would end religious differences in the world. Throughout his life, the scientist maintained ties with the Serbian Church in the United States, financially supporting and staying in touch with the school churches that were opened in the first half of the 20th century. As for other religious currents, Tesla maintained a friendship with the Hindu sage Swami Vivekananda, who traveled to the West to speak about his religion at the World Parliament of Religions. Both frequented the same social circles and it was a party given by the actress Sarah Bernhardt, where they met. Tesla was genuinely impressed with the Vedanta philosophy that Vivekananda had been trained in, and even came to believe that Sanskrit terminology was the ideal medium for describing the physical mechanisms of the universe. So he started using Sanskrit words to describe the source, existence and construction of matter. She believed in God. Nikola Tesla. For Tesla, mental gifts came from a divine being. This was made clear in one of his comments on the subject. The truth is that his Christian identity was interspersed with other religious ideas from the East, although for much of his life he was a man much more interested in scientific issues and the study of nature. In this sense, he is not exempt from contradictions, since he made multiple references to the creator of everything, but he also wrote about the universe from a naturalistic position. A curious anecdote took place during Tesla's childhood, because when he was 3 years old he was caressing his cat Mac, when his fur sparkled and he saw sparks fly in his hand, to which his father explained that this had happened due to electricity. About the event, Tesla wrote, "Is nature a cat? If so, who is patting him on the back? It can only be God," I concluded. I cannot overstate the effect of this wonderful sight on my childhood imagination. The truth is that Tesla was convinced that religious beliefs could be reconciled with scientific practice, and although he did not describe himself as a believer in the orthodox sense, he was a man who showed belief in God and practicing a religious faith. He believed in spirits. Nikola Tesla, one of Tesla's first inventions, was a radio receiver, and he was initially puzzled by sounds he couldn't explain. Later he learned that the sounds were from electrical storms and some signals from space. However, there were times when the scientist believed that they were human voices or even ghosts. Another invention that did involve communicating directly with spirits arose from the competition between Edison and Tesla. Both scientists were intrigued by the forces that could exist beyond our world. And Edison at some point thought that Tesla's inventions could be used to establish communication with other planes. This idea led Edison in the 1920s to become involved in building a device to communicate with people who had left this earthly plane. Something you mentioned during an interview. Other people, reading this statement, began to call the invention the spiritual telephone. The premise of the experiment was based on the fact that if it was possible to convert mass into energy, perhaps the spirits would become units of energy with which one could interact. Edison did test his invention with mediums and scientists, but the machine did not register the presence of ghosts, which did not discourage the inventor. So he kept working on the spiritual phone throughout that decade. It was peaceful. One of Nikola Tesla's dreams was to find a way to eliminate wars, and he even testified about one of his inventions. "I hope this is the invention that makes war impossible." And he also went so far as to claim that the scientists would win the next war because of the upbringing the scientist received from his father. He hated war, so he searched for possible technological tools that would end war. One of his most controversial ideas was the death ray, a weapon capable of taking down a fleet of 10,000 planes at a distance of 400 kilometers, according to Tesla's own words. He believed that if each country had a weapon of this nature, this would make wars impossible, since the mere idea of possessing such a capacity for destruction would prevent nations from coming into conflict with each other. Although said weapon was never built. The documents where it is described could be the first technical description of a charged particle beam weapon. The future in Tesla's vision would be a world where scientific discovery would take precedence over war. In addition, he believed that peace in the world would come as a consequence of universal enlightenment. Charged particle beam weapons were developed during the Cold War by both the Soviet Union and the United States. Despite all the time that has elapsed, the final end of the war still seems distant. What do you think made Nikola Tesla so special? Let us know in the comments. I am very interested in your opinion. Visit this video on Tesla's habits to continue learning. If you liked it, give it a like, share with family and friends, and subscribe with the bell activated so you don't miss other videos like this one.